Back for the presentation on practical agile testing concept and experiences. We have Mr. Abishek, country manager, Telerik, a progress software company, and joining him on stage, Dr. Ganesh Iyer, principal engineer, progress software. Put your hands together. Let's welcome both the speakers on the stage.
Okay, great. After the tea, I think we should be a little awake. Welcome back to this session. We are heading into the late afternoon, rather evening, so I guess there is already a lot of information for you to absorb. What we'll try and do is keep it light so that it's simpler at this hour of the day. So we're talking about practical agile testing, concepts and experiences. I'm Abishek, Abishek Khan there. I look after the Telerik operations in India. Telerik is a progress company. And Dr. Ganesh Iyer, he's the principal engineer for progress software based out of Hyderabad. I'm based out of Delhi. So as we were contemplating what to present, we changed the title a little bit from practical agile testing concepts and experiences to the story of moving houses. Now, the perspective we are coming from is we are a software vendor ourselves, which means we make products for us alone. We sell the products out, and agility, making Devops real, doing testing so that it does not affect the customer is very, very real for us. Because the moment there is a bug, you can actually see the sales graph go down, bad reviews start to come in, and every quarter after quarter, that's a big problem for us. So it's very real for us, and the perspective we're going to talk about is from a point of view which is of ISV, so to say, or a person who is directly building software and selling it in the market. That's me, talks about where I have been in the past. That's my Twitter handle. And that's Dr. Ganesh Iyer. While I'm not that interesting, Dr. Ganesh is also a Kathakali dancer, as you can see. So if you want to learn a move from him, that's a good thing. Our agenda is pretty concise and short. It talks about the software saga and how we've seen business transform from one piece to the other, and how all the agile concepts and all the concepts have become more real. We will then talk about challenges in testing with agile methodology. Of course, agile is the way to go. We'll talk more, and we'll sum it up with some best practices there. So this is the portfolio of the company that we are from, called the Progress Software. This is a company that comes with a lot of history. The company started in 1981. So we're talking about quite a bit of history there. We were in the black line. If you can't read it, it says the command line era. That was the era of mainframes. That's when the company actually started. So think about all the software that we were making and the way we were making all that software. The concept of agile didn't exist. The concept of testing was at the best, how the concept of software coming out was in like 3 years we will do a release. Maybe another 5 years we'll do the next one, and so on and so forth. Then the GUI era, the products moved. We became a public limited company in 1991. And then it moved to the GUI era, where at least the first Windows 3.1 was starting to form. So our interface had to evolve from the command line to the GUI, then the web, and now the cloud era. And our products have similarly moved from command line back down to the cloud era. So what has that meant for us as a products company, and what are the challenges we have faced? And since we're talking in the context of agile testing, we will touch that piece specifically. These two products at the top, Progress OpenEdge and Progress Data Direct, were the products which were inherited, or were the legacy products which were there. Some of you may recognize the name Data Direct, which was writing ODBC drivers for all the different kinds of databases in those days, which you had to install. OpenEdge was the application platform on which very big systems of records were created. So those were the systems of records that we all keep talking about. That's where core businesses were run on. And then the next term, earlier speaker, Naresh, had talked about systems of engagement. So from there, we started doing more products. And obviously, you'll see a story which is jumping from purely software to web-based software and so on and so forth. Data Direct Cloud, now you can get the data connectivity out of the cloud directly. You don't have to install much. So connectivity to Hadoop, connectivity to RDBMSs of any nature, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, whatever you name. Progress Role-Based is the APaaS platform. Now, APaaS is also a new term for a lot of people, but that's something of a drag and drop for the web era. So you drag and drop and create your application. A lot of enterprises find value in this because otherwise they have to do bespoke development from start to finish. Takes time, even if it does take a week to build an app. The motorcycle launch is not going to wait for a week because the IT department says that I'm going to take a week to build it. So it's very real. If you are thinking where does it need it, it's very real because the speed of business is just increasing. There is no way it is coming down. You see it in your business, even if you're an SI, where earlier the release would be 3 months, 4 months, 2 years, 3 years, it has come down to a quarter. Nobody has an appetite for anything more than a quarter. We want to release in a quarter. There is Modulus also, which is our deployment story, which is taking Docker and making it an enterprise-ready container so that you can use it tomorrow. So you see the progress movement from pure software, which is in-premise, to a cloud-based software. Role-based, you can only do SaaS, and then in case you want to move to in-premise, you can do that. From a Telerik perspective, so Telerik is one of the product lines from Progress, it's exactly the same story. We started making software with UI controls, IDE add-ins, Visual Studio, you add more capability, to web-based software like project management, agile project management to be specific, testing of all the applications. So all the frameworks that you may be aware of like Selenium, I don't know, QTP, we also have the same. So if you're wondering why I put that in the web-based, the results for our suite are also available in the cloud. There is a cloud licensing model. So we are transitioning slowly to seeing a pure cloud-based entity at the bottom. At the bottom, you will see our enterprise mobility platform that covers building applications, and you do it right out of the browser. So you see where the progress is. I mean, earlier when you're going to write even an Android app today, you need an Android SDK set up in your machine, and you're essentially doing a desktop kind of development. You're kind of pushing the cycle back up or the clock back. What we've done is push that clock back in tune for today's time, which means we've brought back enterprise mobility on the cloud. Then there is mobile testing. So as you test your applications, the results are again reported in the cloud. And there is a content management system called Sitefinity that can give you very good insights about the customers that are landing on your business. So this is almost BI in the cloud as well. So it analyzes all the data, click streams, and makes recommendation on what to do for personalization, what to do for what should be your next product that should be selling the most. Those are the things that we've done. The objective of telling you is we have gone through these real phases. So in all of this, what has been the single learning? The single learning is this, which is the software testing used to be an insurance business for us. And now it is the one which has moved into influence. So earlier we would just want to make sure that nothing goes bad, which is insurance. If anything goes bad, there is a QC team there to help us and control it. To influence, where the QA team is driving the full operations and release and making sure that customers get what they want. So from software matrix alone to being a business matrix on its own. And I think that's what today we talk a lot about Devops, which is further evolution into getting detail on making configurations and stuff. But to talk more about it and specific experiences, I will invite Dr. Ganesh to talk specifically. He's the engineer who's been doing this. So it's over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Abishek. So we have seen now that software testing has moved from giving an insurance to an influence. So that the QA team is giving influential decisions, helping PM, the product management, to make influential decisions. And with Agile, QA team also faces a lot of challenges. So some of them are listed here. For example, frequently changing requirements, if any of us follow Agile, we know our requirements can change at any point of time. Could be 2 days before release 2. So it happens to us. And every time a single change happens, we have to go and do full round of testing to make sure that it doesn't propagate to anywhere else. So similarly, next one is frequent releases. A very simple sample, Progress Data Direct Cloud had released every 9 days on an average in this year from the beginning of January. So it could be a patch release or it could be a major release, whatever. So we have released at least once in 9 days on an average to help make the product better. And with this kind of frequent releases and frequently changing requirements, it's also becoming very tough to understand the customer requirements or how customers use the product, and when they actually use in real world, how it is going to affect. And hence, finding out such bugs earlier in the life cycle. And finally, lot of environmental differences. For example, if we just take a e-commerce application, we can think of a third party like say PayPal or someone integrated with this e-commerce system for a payment process. So it's a third party, and hence they probably will have a test environment for us to use whenever we do testing, and they will have a production environment where your product points to when it goes to live. So in such cases, assume this test environment is not a 100% replica of the production environment. So we have to make sure on the go live itself, on the day of release itself, again we test once more to make sure this integration piece works. And in progress, we have multiple products within one umbrella which talks to each other, and they have a bunch of back office systems that are of third parties. For example, it's a back office system for the marketing to know how customers use the product or where they are in terms of evaluation so that they can go and convince them to buy. Or we have a back office system for export compliance to understand whether this customer is a valid customer, satisfying all our compliance policies. And all these systems are third party, which means they have different test environment and different production environment. So which also gives challenges in terms of testing as against the traditional testing where we get sufficient window to keep all of them together and then test it and make sure things are all working fine. And as I said, this gives a requirement for a go live testing, which means whenever we make an upgrade, maybe a 2-hour window when we make the upgrade, we also need to make sure that within the 2 hours we have some time reserved for testing, and we test the best or the minimal things to make sure this integration works well. So having seen some of these challenges, let's see some of the best practices that we have implemented within our company in progress on achieving or overcoming these challenges. So one such policy that we internally made is same sprint automation. I know it is little tough, but we make sure automation, the sprint planning already cater for automation time. And if automation is not done, the story will not be marked as done, which gives pressure to the PO, the PM or the Scrum Master to make sure the velocity is going well and all other things are going good, cater sufficient time for automation. And if for some reason this particular 2 stories are not automated, maybe the dev delivered the build only on a day before sprint review, then we shift this story to the next sprint. We don't create a new story saying automation of this, but we shift the story, thereby affecting that entire velocity and other things. And hence, we sufficiently consider time for automation, making changes to existing scripts because of the change in requirements, and adding new scripts because of whatever new features that we developed in that sprint. So by making sure this, we would say that our automation scripts are ready at any point of time. And hence, whenever somebody say the gem comes back and say that tomorrow we want to have a release, immediately we are ready. We can just run our scripts because they are updated and certified very fast. Another one is 24/7 testing, so which I believe many companies follow. And our intent is to catch the bugs before customers get it. So some of the bugs can never be caught using our normal functional testing. For example, a memory leak that might grow over many days. So we can catch it probably by running the test continuously for many days. And how long is this many days? So what we defined is we will run 24/7. So which means either a subset of our regression suite or a bunch of test cases picked from the regression suite which actually simulate customer actions directly in real time. So for example, if you take an example of a PaaS application platform, we have customers coming and creating applications, or customers who log in using existing credentials and update on some existing applications, performing some CRUD operations, making some business logic or updating their business logic. This is a typical customer usage of a platform, right? They come and do something. So we take test cases and make them into threads. So maybe 2 threads where they create a new application, and 3 threads where they update an existing application, and maybe 1 thread to delete something or do some CRUD operations and so on. So thereby simulating multiple threads. And no, it's not a stress test, by the way. So it's not like 100 people simultaneously accessing, but probably a smaller number of threads, 5 or 10 or 20 threads, who simultaneously access the product, thereby simulating the customer environment, the live production. And we have uncovered several interesting issues. So example is our LDAP system, it had some session problems when multiple connections come in and go and again come. So they were not handling the sessions properly whenever so the users log in again or whenever some access comes again. So it was keep growing number of sessions, and finally our test failed. So we found that too many sessions are live, but not many customers are actually live. Not many tests are running. So it's only 5 or 6 threads that are trying to run, but the previously ran threads, which gets repeated every 1 hour or half an hour, all those threads created some dangling sessions and problems around that. So we uncovered such issues. Similarly, say if we take that e-commerce example of PayPal, so we have a different billing system, and our billing system goes down independently of our actual product. So they may have their own scheduled downtime or unanticipated downtime. So in that case, how our system behave? So we actually, through this 24/7, when the system went down, so generally our functional testing was just catering to making sure these systems are available and then running our test cases so that our products works perfect. Now suddenly one of these went down, or maybe an Amazon machine went down, and then we found so and so things are failing, and then we started incorporating resilience into the code and making the system robust. So retry mechanisms and other things, and maybe once the retry mechanisms fail, we actually trigger a alarm, a log, alarm to the Devops, so that they are aware of there is something going on, so that we can fix at least. So such issues are uncovered, and hence the solutions are applied through 24/7 testing. Another one was, as I mentioned in the challenges, go live testing. So in our first release, our go live started around 5 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the morning, our DevOps started taking backup from the system, and it went on to next day morning 8 o'clock. Because that was the first time we are releasing a cloud product, we didn't anticipate so much of problems or troubles in a live upgrade. And then we started optimizing. As part of that, one requirement is the testing has to be done within 30 minutes. So then we started thinking, how can we do? How can we make sure these different systems that are integrated together works well in live system? So when I say go live, for example, if you take rollbase.com, once DevOps say that the system is now upgraded, you can test. We actually go to rollbase.com, which is a public facing portal, but right now temporarily blocked to be accessed only within our office premises, our network. So our QA can test, go to that website, create, register or log in to a pre-existing account and do whatever. And what happens here? We have to now come up with some solution wherein this testing can be done in less than 30 minutes. So these are some of the things. We segregated our testing into pre-go live testing, go live testing, and post-go live testing. So we identified all the systems where the system is same before production upgrade and after the upgrade, And testing around those products or those functionalities are completely done probably on the stage prod server, the previous test environment itself. And we don't need to test it again on go live. Now, there are some things, for example, the billing system is different in test environment and different in production environment. Such cases alone we test on go live. And some things which we can afford to test maybe after 1 or 2 days. So assume our upgrade is on a Saturday. Maybe the following Monday, we keep some of them which are called as post go live testing. So by segregating them into 3, we achieved the kind of 30 minutes target. But again, we used to do it in parallel, so 4 or 5 engineers sit together, each of them take around 20-25 minutes to test. So it's effectively it's not 30 minutes, it's more. And then we did go live automation, and go live automation may not be exact replica of the actual go live, the actual regression suite, because some of these systems in production we QA will not have access to, only Devops controls them. So we have to segregate such things so that we can test what we can. And then we come up with this go live automation to be completed in 10 minutes. So our go live automation completes in 10 minutes, and for some reason any test case failed, we have the remaining 20 minutes to just run the test case, either rerun or manually or whatever, and sufficiently complete our testing pretty much in given time. And some of the other practices are, for example, exploratory testing, so that we often do, and we have uncovered many issues such as, for example, it was an autofill issue. We never added autofill as an option to be tested in our functional testing. And what happened is on a go live day, when we are testing, naturally we chose autofill. The moment I selected my name, auto completion came and I just selected. And that address update doesn't happen. So exploratory testing naturally helps you to test and then come up with such things. And then we add that back into our automation script or wherever. And customer scenarios testing, so we actively mine our forum and talk to customers, whoever we have access to, and simulate or come up with such customer setups within our QA. And then we have this automation around those customer setups. So whenever a new feature gets added, we run this automation, customer scenarios automation suite, and probably we can catch before they find. One more thing that we do is, to top customers, our stage prod, our test environment itself will be open to them 1 week before release. So they themselves can do whatever typically they work on and report us back within that 1 week if they come up with some nasty problems. So thereby making a choice of fixing it and releasing it or postponing the release or whatever. So we let them see what they get. So they will see early what actually they are going to get from next week, and they do some small sanity of their own and confirm that it works. So in such ways, now we are making our customer also QA, but thereby making sure that what they actually wants to get, they will get it, instead of we giving something and then their system gets failed on next day morning. And A/B testing. So I would say this A/B testing is different from that typical A/B testing. I couldn't think of a different word. So it's basically choose what to test and what not to test. So based on the feature that we deliver, we also identify some of the things that we want to test on these customer scenarios or on the go live and so on, so that we actually test exactly what we want to test. And this caters to those small releases when a release is scheduled immediately. Like if we are getting an information that tomorrow we are going to have a patch release, we may not have time to run the complete regression suite. So even in that case, we can selectively run it, certify it, and the remaining test cases we can run maybe a day later, and then probably report if there are anything. So to conclude, the mantra is automate. And not just automate within the same sprint. So if any QA guys are here, make sure you account your automation time into your sprint planning. And if automation is not done, don't close the story. Don't agree to your Scrum Master that you will create a new story for automating so and so feature. Say that this story has to be postponed. That's the only solution. And not only that, automate even your go live testing. If you have something that you need to test on a live day, make sure you automated that. And again, not only that, automate whatever you cases that you identify using this exploratory testing. For example, the autofill issue that we found before. And it doesn't end there. Automate even possible customer scenarios, at least the top-notch customers whom you have access to, understand how they use the product, and then build applications or make your system, make a simulated system, customer system, and then do it. Again, it doesn't complete there. Even you should have or you must have an automation around 24/7 testing, which means a part of your regression suite runs in parallel 24/7. Thereby, you can uncover some of the unforeseen issues. Things like connection pooling, maybe multiple people trying to access. At some point of time, you may get something, or some memory leak that gradually over time. So maybe after 100 days, you might see that your test case are failed. Then you will understand when so many customers access a system, slowly so and so problem happens, which we can never identify using a general functional testing. So the mantra is automate and automate and automate. So thank you very much. Sorry? To automate. So now onwards, testers are not testers, they are test developers. No, they are test developers. So we actually have automation script review every week, just like the code review that developers do. And we even have log review to understand how much we log. And then we report back saying that for so and so failure, we never get an alarm. So we add that so that DevOps can catch such alarms in production. So, and we have best coding practices, everything defined for test engineers, QAs. And we give them intense training on even coding, whatever language that we choose to code. So we even give them. So for example, recently, when we have these integrated systems, we want to test our product and not probably the third-party systems. So we believe they will function well. So we don't take their UI. For example, if I have a billing system which is integrated with my product, I might probably test the functionality of the billing system and not the UI of billing system, because that is irrelevant to me. In the actual production, I don't use the UI. So such cases, we use APIs to make calls for billing payment or something. So our testing is not only UI, it's also API testing. And then we have to come up with a hybrid tool. For example, as Abishek mentioned in the beginning, Telerik has a Telerik Test Studio platform, and Test Studio helps you develop UI test as well as write C# code with which you can make API calls. So we use such hybrid natured frameworks. So our engineers are well versed with writing in C# and still using the automation tool, the best of both, and then get our APIs, get our automation running. Any other questions? Yeah, I think she has a question. Sorry.
Do you create test environments on demand? Like, meaning whenever there is a regression testing happens, only then you need a testing environment, right? Especially in a cloud-based ecosystem. So do you really create a test environment on demand, or just you create it as when the development starts and then you carry on?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we actually have a bunch of test environments. So I would say we have an environment called main int, where the main branch, any code check-ins on the main branch will be deployed onto main int once in a while, whenever QA demands. And main int is like pretty much updated on every day. So which means every day morning 9 o'clock, our DevOps will give us the latest builds deployed into main int. And hence we can go to main int once we are in office and start testing with the new features. Then we also have say called as E2E int, where we perform end-to-end testing. And end-to-end testing is not done usually on every day. So which means we probably take E2E int, we make it run only when we have to run automation scripts on E2E int. So maybe once in a sprint or once in 2 sprints, whenever we run end-to-end tests, only that time that environment will be brought up, deploy the latest builds, test it, and then shut it down. So thereby make some cost savings. And then we also have a stage prod environment, which is used probably only when 2 days before release or 3 days before release, where we dump customer data into the test environment so that we probably test some sanity on that.
In a momento, would like to request Mr. Manpreet Singh Khurana, CTO Airtel, to kindly come on stage. Airtel, Mr. Manpreet Singh Khurana.